Hi folks, I've been absent for a little while, but there's important topics I want to talk about, especially with what's been happening recently, with the letter that was sent out by the UCP asking disabled Albertans to apply for a Canadian disability benefit that they can't have. Normally I'd speak freely, but since this is so important, I'm going to read off a piece of paper, and as many of you know, I like to write. My writing skills come from reading philosophy and enjoying poetry, so my words are really the words of others that I've just managed to craft into my own. Anyway, here we go. Today I want to talk about something that's been bothering me for a long time: the growing divide between rural and urban Alberta, and how this divide is being used by the UCP to stay in power. Let's start with rural Alberta. People out there are hurting. Roads are falling apart, schools are underfunded, hospitals are shutting down, and social services, forget about it. When the government pulls away, you're left with no choice but to rely on yourself. This kind of survival makes people tough, but it also makes them feel alone. Now let's talk about disabled Albertans. They face the same thing, just in a different form. Constant stress about money, not enough support, always anxious about what happens next, and just like rural Albertans, they feel let down again and again. And here's where it gets ugly. Instead of fixing these problems, the UCP uses them to twist real frustration into political fuel. They tell rural voters that social programs only help the big city folks, and that supports for disabled people is just wasteful spending. They frame dignity as a handout, compassion as a weakness. And they do something even worse. They actively undermine the disabled, cutting their benefits, treating them like burdens and not citizens. Let me give you a recent example. When the federal government introduced the Canadian Disability Benefit, they said, let's use programs like the GIS and OAS to lift people out of poverty. And they meant modeled after. They didn't mean this as a basis of support. That's pretty clear, and I thought it was pretty clear. But the UCP twisted what was said in the Gazette. They claimed that Ottawa was recommending poverty level support. They used that to spin to justify their own strategy, their own stingy benefit. It wasn't just misleading, it was calculated, and it was morally rotten. Because this isn't just about one policy or one group, it's about a system, and that system is called capitalism. Capitalism used to serve everyone in society. A man worked hard and he got a fair day's pay. It drove progress, it rewarded innovation, it helped us build. But today's capitalism, it preys on society. It feeds off every one of us. It's very difficult for an individual that's a teenager today to even think about owning a house in the future. The reason being is the hours worked are not rewarded in the same way they used to be. The system favors billionaires. It gaslights regular people into thinking that fighting back is somehow dangerous. We are told that a rising tide lifts all boats, but many people don't realize they were never given a boat to start with. This is what the UCP leans into. They weaponize rural self-reliance, and they turn compassion into a dirty word. They convince rural folks that asking for help is weakness, while telling disabled people that dignity is too expensive and a luxury. They divide all Albertans, rural from urban, disabled from able-bodied, so we never realize that we're all being left behind. And all while nothing gets better. The roads still crumble, the hospitals stay closed, the support never comes. Because division is strategy, and fear and anger is the tool. We all deserve better. We deserve honesty. We deserve leadership that unites, not manipulates. We deserve a province where rural and urban folks stand together, where the disabled are treated with respect, and where no one has to choose between survival and dignity. The UCP wants you to believe that the resource companies are our saviors, that we owe them our loyalty. Without them, we're nothing. But these companies have made billions upon billions upon billions, and they still complain that Alberta's rock bottom royalty rates are too high. Meanwhile, our province has almost saved nothing. Our infrastructure is falling apart. Our people are struggling, and one day the companies will leave. And when they do leave, a lot of Albertans are going to realize that they were played. So I say to you, we need balance. A fair day's work for a fair day's pay. A province that lets people thrive, but also protects those who have been knocked down by fate. We need both self-determination and compassion. And this basically is the price for civilization. Now, I hope all people can appreciate what I said. I hope I've been able to convey my message in a meaning. Boy, I'm repeating myself. You see, when I free talk, I don't do as well as when I read off a script, unless I'm talking directly to a person. Anyway, have the best day you can. Enjoy each day. Enjoy the sun on your face, and embrace the happiness that you can find each day. Bye-bye.